Hey, what's up? It's your boy Stevie G, coming at you with another episode of the Seamless Garage Podcast. And in this episode, I want to cover something very, very important. That's something that I've decided to do with the car. So, we talk about vinyl wraps. I know. So, hop in there. Let me know what you think. Whether you love them, you hate them. Make sure to comment, subscribe on this stuff. Let me know what you think. Do you love them? You hate them? Have you installed them before? Do you know somebody who's installed them? Tell me about the nightmares, about the good stuff. What have you heard about them? But anyway, let's get into it. Alright guys, what's going on? It's been a while. It's been a couple of weeks, maybe even a month, and I just want to apologize ahead of time on that, but I just had a lot going on. Family came into town, so we had to get everything ready for that. Christmas, New Year's, all that stuff. Should have had some stuff pre-recorded, so I'm taking full ownership for that because I want to give you guys content every week, 2 to 3 times a week, whether that be, podcast, the YouTube channel, all that good stuff. I want to put out info. I've got plenty of info to put out. I've also got plenty of stuff that we're doing at the shop, things that we're doing in general for Seamless that can be put out. You know what I'm saying? And so the fact that I'm not doing that, is a little upsetting for me. I can imagine waiting around for content, you know what I'm saying? There's just a lot going on. I'm having some things going on right now. My wife's not feeling too well, and so I'm having to pick up the duties and be a super dad, if you will. You know what I'm saying? My wife, she does a great job as a mom, and so she usually buys me the opportunity to do what I need to do with Seamless and get all that done. But she hasn't been feeling well, so I've been taking care of my baby girl so that she can get better. And so, but we're back on track. So let's get this going and let's stick with it. And I want to give you guys some good info. So anyway, that's the update on that. Update on the Talon build is that we're moving along. We are moving along now. And one of the big things is what we're about to talk about on this episode. It did an unlock for me. And so let me elaborate on that a little bit. I'm sure you've ran into this before, but for me, the paint for the car was the lock for me. It was the stopping point, the excuse, if you will, the reason to procrastinate. Which I don't want to procrastinate. I love the car and I want to finish the car. Right? That's not the point. But what I'm saying is, it seem like, especially if you're not a painter, you don't know anything about paint, and that's another thing I'm going to explain in this episode, is that it was stopping me. The fact that I had to paint the car put me in this sense of paralysis, okay? For some reason, and I mean not even on the body part, like everything else, you know what I'm saying, even the mechanical part, because there's a lot of stuff I got to do still to get it mechanically sound and get it running, so that we can drive the dang thing. But the fact that it wasn't going to be painted, or the fact that I was going to have to paint it and go through that, and it's not a big deal, you know what I'm saying? It's a journey that we go through when we're building cars, and eventually I do want to learn how to paint. But it was a lock for me. It was a freezing point, like, man, I don't really know what I'm doing here when it comes to paint, you know what I mean? Which you should always just go for it. You should study as much as you can and then go for it and understand that you're going to have mess ups and you're going to learn from it. But for me, it was just a locking point for me. And when I decided to change that up and not do paint, it unlocked it for me, and I've been full bore ever since. So the Talon is coming along. I've got parts on the way to finish that up. We're going to get the engine bay painted. I know I've been talking about that for a while, but that will be spray painted. Not spray painted. I'm going to spray it, is what I was trying to say. I was trying to use paint lingo. We're going to spray the engine bay. That's the thing that will be sprayed, okay? And then the rest of the body, as far as the body goes, that's all going to be prepped, everything just like you would for a paint job, and then primered, and then we're going to wrap it. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode here in just a little bit. So, got some exciting content for you guys coming out for sure. On the DJ side of things, okay? DJ inherited, his father's what he calls a short, wide body style of Chevy. I'm not a big Chevy guy, so I can't really tell you the exact body style or year, but I'll tell you it's 90s, like early 90s. Not the square body style, but right after that, where they got rounded in the front. Excuse me if I butchered that, but I don't know much about Chevys. But he inherited that, and we're going to LS swap it. We're going to put an LS series in it, and he wants to do it, and he wants to do it right. So it's going to be really cool. We're going to do that. He's going to get it repainted. He said, depending on how the wrap looks on the Talon, he might even wrap it. But I think he'll get it painted. He's a big paint guy, which I don't blame him. A lot of people are. But that's some exciting news that we're going to get DJ back in the shop, and we're going to be doing a build that's based around his dad's truck. So it's going to be really cool, really cool. For those of you who didn't know, DJ's dad was like a dad to me. I mean, he basically helped raise me because I spent a lot of time down at DJ's house when I was a kid, and he taught me a lot of things growing up. So it's going to be a really cool and sentimental build. Last thing before we get into this is that the shirts are going to be released this week, so be on the lookout for that. It will be on Instagram. I may even announce it on YouTube, but definitely be on Instagram and on the Seamless Facebook page. We will announce the shirts. They're like this. This is a hoodie. This is not for sale, but they're like this. It's black with a white logo, and they'll be on sale sometime this week, so be on the lookout for that. Anyway, let's get into this. Let's get into something I'm excited about. I've done a lot of research on. If you know me, you know that's kind of what I do. If I get into something, I'm going to do the research. I'm going to do the know-how. I'm going to figure out what's good product to buy, what's bad product to buy, what's the right procedures and practices to do for something, whatever I'm deciding to do. And I'm going to do it that way, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And so that's what I've done with this. And I've actually gotten a little bit passionate about what's going on with this, because once I decided, so let's go ahead and set it. I decided to wrap the Talon. I decided to wrap the Stormtrooper Talon. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm fully committed to that, and that's what we're going to do. And that was the unlock for me to get back into my car and get back to working on it, because the paint just had me paralyzed. Okay, I don't know how to explain it. Some of you guys, y'all may be painters and be like, man, what's the big deal? But for me, it was a paralyzing moment, and it's one of the reasons why. It was just an excuse that I wanted to get rid of. You know what I'm saying? And let me tell you what happened, why I decided to go wrap my car. So what happened was, I was scrolling on YouTube, and I saw this, I think it was a commercial, an ad, an ad or something, that was car related, and it actually was Paradox the rapper. Okay, he does a lot of cool raps, and he's got his own vinyl that he uses. He's got special colors and stuff, but I've seen him doing some raps for some people, and basically he was showing their reactions and stuff. And I hopped on his page, I started checking stuff out, and I saw him installing it and stuff, you know what I mean? And I was like, wow. I was like, that looks cool to do, like, just in general. And when I saw it, I was like, man, I can do that. Like, I was watching it, and sure, he makes it look easy because he's been doing it a while, of course he makes it look easy. But I know how to judge things and determine whether it's something I want to dive into or not. And it's something I totally want to dive into. It just looks fun to install. Let's not even say easy. Let's just say fun. It looks fun to figure out how to get the body lines right, how to stretch it, when to use heat, when not to use heat, when to do inlays, all that good stuff. Like, it was just really cool. And so it's going to be a cool little chapter of me learning it. And I know that once I do that, man, it's going to be something else. So, decided to wrap the Talon. Now, I've decided that we're going to go traditional, except for that we're not doing the black spoiler. So The whole car is going to be white except for the roof and the top part. So we're going to have that canopy look, but the spoiler's not going to be black. It's just one thing I did not like about the white and black Talons. It just kind of set it off. I wanted it to all be the same color except for the roof. I love when the roof and the A, B, C pillars are all black in the hatch. You know what I'm saying? So I love that canopy look, and so that's what we're gonna do. That's pretty much it on that. You know, that I'm pretty set on that. I was gonna go all black. I love all black. My favorite color, man. My top, I'll just say top two because they're really close to each other. My top two favorite colors for the 1GA Talons and DSMs, Eclipses, all that good stuff, is black, all black, and all red. With, you know, obviously with the black top, but all black and then red. So I had those two, but I didn't want to wrap red. And I wanted to wrap all black, and then I was like, man, I want to keep this one true to what it was. That's one of the main reasons I'm staying with it, because I wanted to keep it true to its original color. Plus, I really love white. I really love to paint white. So, but that all black, man, it just pops on that car. It makes the body lines look right and everything. There is a discrepancy in the wraps when it comes to black. There's a new color that came out. Well, it's not a new color, but Vivid, a wrap company, came out with their new piano black that's extra high gloss. And man, it looks just like a paint job. It looks just like a paint job. If you're interested, and I piqued your interest, go check out CK Wraps. He compared, I think, 5 or 6 different vinyl wraps, like the high tier companies. That he compared their blacks. He put them all on a car and he compared them side by side. And when he got to the Vivid, the high gloss Vivid black, man, it was like a mirror finish. Like you just seen the reflection. You just seen his camera and him in it. Like it was clear as day. There was no orange peel. There was no excessive glue on the top. There was none of that. There was no hazing, any of that. So it's just really cool to see. And man, I was like, shh. That may be the way to go. But no, I'm going to go white, but I'm going to use that black for the top, though. I'm using that black for the top, that piano black. So that's where we're going with it. But that's how I got into deciding I want to do the wrap on the Talon. And that's the way we're going. We're not switching around at all. That's how we're going to do it. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're going to do. So I want to get into something that I noticed. So I started telling some of my friends and people I know that I'm going to wrap my car. Some people were like, man, that's dope. Like, I've done that before. If you need any advice, let me know. And then I've got a bunch of people that were like, man, I want to swing by when you're doing it. Like, I want to watch you do it. And so I'm like, that's cool, because that's going to be some great content anyway. I've actually got a good friend of mine who does, like, records videos, edits them, and does stuff like that, a photographer and a videographer type of deal. And he wants to video me as I'm doing it. So that'd be really cool. We'll have my view, and then we'll have him videoing me do it. So it'd be cool to see those different perspectives. With that, my cousin Craig with the Mustang, he's gonna be there to learn how to do it. We're gonna have a couple of guys that are basically gonna be watching because they're interested in it. So that's really cool. Really cool. But then on the other end of things, I've got people going, man, what are you talking about? Paint's the best, wrap is terrible, this and that, and they're speaking, from old terms. They don't realize that technology improves as time goes on, or maybe they do and they're just not willing to acknowledge it. But they were saying all this stuff about how they wear down and they fade, and paint's the original. You're not doing the car right if you don't paint it. Just all of this flack, right? And so I really wanted to just come out and tell everybody what I think. So I've kind of thought about this in my head, and I'm like, man, why do people think this way? And, not in a derogatory way. I wasn't thinking negatively. I was just trying to figure out why people weren't receptive to vinyl wraps. And let me say why. Because, it's interesting. People are out here wrapping their $500,000, $1 million cars, okay? They're wrapping them, and the reason why is because you can't get that kind of paint job. And the next reason why is because you can pull that vinyl wrap off when you get ready to resell, and you've got a fresh paint job underneath. and it just helps your resale value. So that's another reason. But if they're doing it, I'm like, man, I don't understand the stigma behind it. So the best way I can explain why there's a stigma behind this is because it's all we've ever known. Paint is all we've ever known. From the get-go, when cars were made, they were painted. And so that's been the standard the whole time. And not to knock paint. I love paint. Okay? I love paint, obviously, because I grew up around it my whole life. And I love it. Like, it's... When you get that nice high wax on there, man, and it's washed and clean, and it shines in the sun, bro, there's nothing you can say about that. Like, that's awesome. But I think the stigma behind it is that's what we're used to. And so that, and then the fact that it's a sticker, right? Everybody's like, oh, man, it's just a sticker. It's a sticker. Yeah, by the way, it's a decal. If you know anything about decals, man, they stick and they stay. They stay there. But they're like, yeah, man, it's just a sticker, yada, yada, yada. And, that's cool and all, bro, but, like, they've come a long way. Like, it's a thick sticker, if you will. It's a thick decal that is very resilient. Like, you can scratch it, you can hit it with stuff, and it won't peel off. Like, it's very resilient, and it's made well. It's not like they took random vinyl and started putting them on cars. Maybe that's how it started originally, but the stuff you buy now is formulated for cars. Like, it's built for cars. So that it knows what it's going to need. It knows it needs high temp, especially for like the hood, right? Like, it needs to be high temp where it doesn't unstick at high temps. It needs to be resilient to scratches and dings and stuff like that. It needs to last. It needs to stay on and last. You know what I'm saying? It needs to be stretchable so we can apply it in certain areas. Like, it's come a long way. So without going too far into that, it's just, it's just something that I wanted to bring up because I feel like there's a big stigma behind it, and I don't think there should be. I feel like if you want to wrap your car, go for it. These days, if you do it right, a lot of times they can't tell that it's wrapped. And who cares if they do, right? Like, that's the whole thing, is like everybody's trying to hide that it's wrapped. Like, it's a stigma. Like, don't hide that it's wrapped. I'm going to tell people it's wrapped. Like, that's what I'm not going to let them assume it. Like, when they go, man, that's a badass paint job, I'm not going to let them assume that. I'm going to go, no, man, it's wrapped. It's wrapped. It's a really clean wrap. What I mean by when you do it right, it's like some wraps just aren't going to look like a paint job, and that's because they're not supposed to. That's one of the pros of a wrap, is that you can get any color you want. You can get any design you want. There are color schemes. There are color schemes and designs that you just can't achieve with a paint job. You just can't do it. And so that's one of the pros of a wrap. A couple of other pros, like, for instance, like when I say a pro for wrap, it's probably going to be a con for paint, right? So a pro for the wrap is that if somebody does come up and scratch the hell out of my, like, let's say my door panel, okay, they scratch the hell out of it with whatever, I don't know, grandma's walking up next to me at the grocery store in my parking spot, and she just bought a new broom or something, bro, and it, like, she didn't realize it was sticking out the side of the cart, and it just scratches up my car. If I hate that, I can peel that panel off real quick, bam, and put a fresh one on, and I'm done. I'm done. I can do that in a night. I can do that in 30 minutes to an hour. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm done once I figure it out. I haven't done one yet, but once I figure it out and I'm good at it, 30 minutes to an hour, and I can have that redone as long as I got the material. For paint, you're looking at, you got to sand it down, you got to prep it. If it's dinged, you got to pop it out. Obviously, if it's wrapped and it's dinged, you need to pop it out too, because it's going to show in the wrap too. That's one thing you can't cover up bad paint and body work with paint or with wrap. Like, you can't. So you got to have it right. It's got to be great. It's got to be seamless, man. So if grandma does that, I can put a fresh wrap on there. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I got to do a paint job. And so everybody's like, oh, no, that's not a big deal. And I don't mean a whole paint job. Obviously, you need to sand that down. You're going to at least have to paint the door when you do that. Paint the door, maybe blend it into the panel. That's time consuming. And a lot of y'all are like, oh, no, that's no big deal. Like, people do it all the time. Okay, cool. But think about this. How many people do you know that ride around with scratches because they don't want to have to get stuff painted. They don't want to have to sit in the shop for it to get an estimate done to it, and then to get it prepped and painted and fixed. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many people like, everybody's doing that. Nobody is going to the paint shop unless it's like a brand new car or something, a car they really love, and they're paying that deductible to get it fixed. So, you guys that say that ain't no big deal when everybody gets them fixed, that's not true. Like, most people I know are not going to the paint shop to get that fixed. So they're going to let it ride, and hopefully nobody notices it. You know what I'm saying? So that's our pro/con. So con for the paint, pro for the wrap. Here's one to think about that's kind of like up in the air, is paint lasts longer than a wrap. This is true. Which is another con to paint, is that you got to wax it. You got to keep it waxed. You got to keep that thing maintained. You got to wash it all the time. Of course you want to wash your car, but I'm saying, things get out of hand and you don't have time sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's forgot to wash their car, or hasn't had time and hadn't washed it in a while. I'm like, damn, I need to take care of my car. Well, that happens, and your clear coat starts peeling. So anyway, you got that wax on there, everything else. You got to keep it waxed up, all that good stuff. That's another con to paint, because you've got to keep that up. You got to keep that maintenance up. But what I was going to say is, paint will last a whole lot longer if you take care of it. But you got to keep that wax up. You got to keep it clean. You got to keep clay barring it and then re-waxing it. All that good stuff to get the impurities out of the wax and out of the clear coat. So, yeah, it'll last a whole lot longer, but there's a whole lot of maintenance to it. Whereas wrap will last up to 10 years. From the research I've done, it will last up to 10 years. And it's going to fade a little bit, but so does paint. It's going to fade a little bit. But you just keep an eye on it. But the thing about paint is that the cost of entry is ridiculous, especially if you're not doing it yourself. If you're doing it yourself, it's just a lot of labor. And then you risk not knowing what you're doing and messing it up. Whereas with vinyl, you can just keep reapplying it until you figure it out. And then obviously you can pay somebody to do it, but it's usually going to be cheaper than a paint job. But if you do it yourself, let's say we're doing it ourselves, time-consuming wise, paint is going to be way up there on the scale. And if you mess it up, you just got to send that down and repaint it. Whereas with vinyl, yeah, you can mess up pieces and stuff and not cut them right, cut them too small, cut them wrong or whatever. But once you got the right cut, you can reapply that thing 1,000 times until you get it the way you want it. So that's the cool part about vinyl. But with paint, like I said, you just got to keep it up. Vinyl will last up to 10 years, like I said, and here's my thing, I'm not going to let it last for 10 years, because the cool thing about my vinyl is I'm going to ride around with that white and that black for a while, for a few years, however long I want. And then when I decide to change that thing up, dude, I can change that thing up same day, as long as I got the material. I can change that color up same day. I can pop out there. On Cars and Coffee on a Saturday with that white and black, and then on Sunday pop out there at another Cars and Coffee with blue with a cherry red top or something. You know what I'm saying? Like that. You know what I'm saying? That cherry Pepsi. Anyway, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you can swap it up, and so that's just it. So if you had to say a con for wrap, one of them would be the fading part. Okay. That's a big deal. And then, another con for wrap, and you can actually fix this, but a con for wrap for me, the one thing that just bugs me a little bit, but I'm not going to let it get to me because I'm still going to do my thing, is if you went with a different color than the original color of the car, obviously the door jambs are going to be a different color. Your engine bay is going to be a different color. You would have to paint that if you wanted it to match. So all your door jambs and stuff like that would be a different color. So when you open the door, especially if it's a very contrasting color, it's going to pop. But if you're not worried about hiding the fact that it's wrapped, it shouldn't be a huge deal. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be a huge deal. So, but as far as that goes, I think that's about it for the pros and cons for paint versus wrap. It's really pick your poison at this point. One's way more time consuming and expensive than the other. Paint's way more time consuming and expensive than wrap. Wrap can get up there though. Hold on now, let me explain that. Wrap can get up there. If you're talking about chromes and you're talking about chromatic color changes and stuff like that, it can get really expensive. But if you are doing it yourself, it's a whole lot cheaper than doing it yourself paint. But even if you're paying for it, I think it's cheaper. So, I mean, that's about it for that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to beat a dead horse, but there are plenty of pros to wrap, and there's plenty of pros to paint. Everybody already knows what paint can do. You know what I'm saying? Everybody already knows what a good paint job can do for the look of your car. So we're not even going to get into that. So, but the cool thing is, man, once we get this installed, once I get going on that, and I got all the boys out there while we're installing it, I think it's going to be the beginning of a new era for the Seamless boys. What I mean is, I think it's going to open the gate where we're going to start wrapping all of our cars. You know what I'm saying? Just because it opens up that level of like, man, I can change the color and the look of my car, you know, in a day, and I don't have to worry about sanding it down and prepping it, and hopefully I do a good job on the paint job. Or let's just say we don't want to do it at all. Let's say we don't have the skills to do the paint. Well, we got to send it off to somebody else. So that's even more time consuming. So we got to send it off. So it's just going to open it up. That's not to say that we're never going to do a paint job, because let me tell you, when we get finished with some of these builds, we're probably going to paint them and make them look really good. But I just think that we should shut the stigma up, and we should show what we can do with wraps, and show that you can still get the same heads turning, and you can still love the way your car looks, and you can also change your car in a day's notice. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's the beginning of a new era. I think I'm going to end up talking DJ into doing it on one of his cars, and I think eventually we're going to be wrapping everything. But anyway, I hope you got some info out of this, some inspiration maybe. Maybe you've rethought how you think about wraps, hopefully. If you think negatively of them, maybe you rethought it. Check some of it out, man. There's some high quality stuff out there. And a lot of these exotic cars that you're liking on Instagram, they're wrapped. So just keep that in mind, man. But anyway, check us out on Instagram. Check us out on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, check us out on our podcast, Seamless Garage Podcast, which is on Spotify and most of the podcast platforms. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure you share this with somebody. If you got a homie or a friend who's interested in it, or you know somebody who's interested in cars, loves modifying cars, is a mechanic, aspiring mechanic, all that good stuff, make sure you share it with them so that they can get the info out of this stuff. And anyway, so it wouldn't be the Seamless Garage Podcast. We stopped doing this for a while, but it wouldn't be an episode if we didn't end with the question of the day. And so the question of the day is, and just hit me up on Instagram, on my DM me, hit me up on Facebook, however, on Snapchat if you got me on there. What color white should I use for the Talon? Should I go with just a straight up glossy white? Should I go with like a diamond style white? You have to check that out. But a diamond style white, like a pearl. Should I go with a matte white? Should I go with something like that that's like color changing white? Tell me what I should go with. I'm going for sure with the piano black top, glossy black top. But the rest of it, let me know what you think. Like, have you seen some crazy white colors that you think might look cool on the Talon? Let me know, because I haven't seen a whole lot of them in person, and so I'm curious. But hit me up on the social media platforms for that. And without further ado, I'm going to get out of here, guys. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Seamless Garage Podcast. Peace.